After seeing how well my last video did, I thought it's time to do something that somebody will watch. So, or maybe you won't, I don't know. It's hard to know what goes over with YouTube, but let's just do a video. So, as you may know from watching my videos, this is a Chrome box that I converted to use Mint instead of the Chrome OS that it was set up with. Somebody did me a favor and already installed the firmware that allows you to do that. Now, I thought I'd do a video about what if you're converting from Windows to Linux, and I'm not going to give you the spiel that some of these clowns do about just ditch Windows and get on Linux. If you have a business, if you communicate with people through Zoom or Teams, if you have a bunch of apps that you need, they're really necessary for running your business, see if there's an alternative under Linux before you make any kind of jump that drastic. Now, my suggestion is, I have these kinds of things, but my suggestion is just get VirtualBox, install it, and then install a virtual machine of Linux Mint. I would recommend, because it's not that different from Windows, so you might be more comfortable with that. And get on there and then start doing some research to see if you can find alternative programs to use in your business if you have a business. If you don't, then you can do whatever you want. Get off Windows. You're probably just playing games anyway, so just get on Linux and find some games to play there, and you're good. But for the other half of the world who might want to use Linux productivity wise, then there is a lot of things to think about. So today I'm just going to kind of dive into a few things that I've been using and sort of like the bare necessities for me for an OS. So let's check that out by going to some of the programs I find indispensable. So one of the things I find indispensable is a program, well, this is really indispensable, Task Manager, because I like to see what's going on with my CPU and make sure that it's not going crazy, and kind of because I'm not familiar with Linux that much, and this certainly not this Chrome box, I want to just make sure nothing's going crazy, and this isn't. So that's one of the things you want to get going right away. The other thing you want to do is you want to go to Disk Analyzer, and you want to see how much space you got, because this Chrome box is very small. It's only got like 32 gigabytes of as an SSD of space. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not way over here, but you're more around somewhere in the middle with that little amount of space. So that's one of the apps you want to get going right away. Let's see what's the next one I want to point out. Well, here's one that doesn't install by default, but I think is great. It's called Zim. Now Zim, this is some notes I took a week ago or so, is really good because it's basically a system that allows you to make linkable notes. So for example, if you go to my home page here, there's a bunch of links, and it'll take you to notes that I've made about different applications, and they're very easy to get to, and I can create links within these notes to other things. So it's basically a desktop wiki, and here's the information about it. So I got one that actually runs on Windows, all versions from XP to Windows 11. It's a little older than this one, but I use it on my Windows systems, and it's like my go-to place to put stuff because it's super easy to use, and you can just drag and drop pictures in it. And so it gives you not only a nice visual sort of presentation that is linked to, interlinked wherever you want, however you want to link it. And the other thing I like is it has this little journal thing. So if you want to make notes on a particular date and things you've maybe been learning about, you can just throw them here, and then you can reorganize them later if you want to make them more specific. It has spell checking, and so it's picking up things it doesn't recognize. And see, so these are some like quick notes I made about as I was going through this OS and experimenting with my Chromebox. So the first thing I noticed or thought about is I need some essentials, right? So like I said, Zim. One of the things I think is essential is a good text editor. And so this Xed, I guess is how what they call it. Xed, let's find out. There it is. Yeah, small, lightweight text editor, but man, it's great. So, why do I use a text editor? Well, I use it for all my notes. I don't put things in like a word processor. I put them in a text editor. And the reason being is I find there's no fooling around with formatting. The files are super small. They open instantly. If you're opening up, say, 10 files, you can open them up really fast and close them and look inside them, and you can stretch them and shrink them and all kinds of stuff, and they fit, 10 to a page sort of thing. So they're great that way, and you can read them on anything. So if you have another text editor that can manage just general, ASCII text and things like that, well, you'll be able to read them on Windows, Mac, Linux, even the Commodore 64. Yeah, text files. It's like the universal communication system. Then, of course, if you like to write a little code, well, these things are great for Python scripts and things like that. Little things to get the job done. So that's one of the things I needed. And I got one, obviously, that comes with Mint. That's their default. And then, of course, I need LibreOffice, particularly a spreadsheet. I'm in a spreadsheet on a Windows system every day. So I need a decent spreadsheet. So this is certainly suffices as a spreadsheet that, you can do calculations on, and it auto calculates it for you and all that stuff, and it's great. And basically, I never open up a calculator on a computer. I just use this. I have a spreadsheet open every day. First thing I open. I got some standard files that I have open all the time, and and it's just a great place to do calculations, multiple calculations, steps, and everything else. In fact, I used to program in BASIC, and every program that I ever wrote in BASIC pretty much can be now done on a Excel spreadsheet. So it kind of gets rid of the need for BASIC from the old days. Oh, there you go. That's the other thing I needed. So I got that. So we're good there. We're good to go. We got, so we got my Zim going on for making my notes and keeping pictures of things and whatever. And then I got my, then a thing, I sometimes work at night. So one of the things I need is like Redshift, or a program that shifts the color balance so that it's a kind of red shifted as opposed to blue shifted. It's a little easier on the eyes, and it can help you to sleep and things like that. So I downloaded Redshift and discovered, hey, Redshift doesn't work. Well, it turns out that how it used to get its geo information is no longer valid. So you have to basically, let's go here to, where are we? Where are we? There we go. All right. Have this open to make it a little easier on you guys. You have to sit there watching me stumble around, although apparently you are having to. Redshift, yes. Redshift needs a file now. It needs to be under your home, your user name, and then under your .config. And then you need to call it redshift.config. And this is the contents you need to put in it. Basically, you have to make it manual, and then you have to give it the latitude and longitude of your location, which you can find. Typically like I live in Vancouver, so this is basically Vancouver longitude, latitude. But you have to put the longitude in a negative number or it won't work. Anyway, once I put that in there, as the sun goes down, this thing redshifts and my screen gets a lot easier to use at night. So yeah, Redshift like that. Time shift, I thought, oh, what a great idea. I'll back everything up. Well, let me tell you something. As soon as I used time shift, this here went down, down, down. There was no space. So my recommendation is, if your system doesn't have a lot of space, don't waste your time with time shift. Just back up your data, and you can always reinstall it if something drastically bad happens. You can reinstall the OS as long as you have your data. And like I said, data is small, especially if it's text files or spreadsheets, things like that, or even these zim files are super small. They're actually text files, and then you have some picture files you might keep in the folder as well. So very good way to go. It's just, if you don't have the space, if you've got the space, why not use time shift, right? Back up your system. The trade-off for me though is too high, so because my SSD is too small. So nix that. Now I wanted something I like to have is a Linux database. Now I use a Works database, which is a really basic thing, but it's so fast to create. I just have always used it, and it works perfectly. So I tried this thing called, I think it's called Kexi, if I'm pronouncing it right, Kexi. Anyway, I thought, oh, I'll use this and see what this is like. And this was actually really easy to make tables and forms, and then you can do queries and reports, which essentially are the things that a Works database does. So I think this is pretty equivalent to a Works database. Very basic, very simple. And so the first thing you need to create is a table. So I created a table with the data I wanted to capture. And this was just for fun, just to see how it worked. So, you have your kind of primary key, and then you do your, what you're going to capture. So the name of the device, the OS it's running, CPU, RAM, storage. And that's what you could just create and fill in, and then it displays in a form with everything in one space like that. And the design phase is pretty simple. It's very similar, looks very similar to me to a Works database. A little more complicated, but certainly not hard to work with. And there you go. So that's your equivalent to a Works database in running under Linux. And so we can just we could switch between the different ones. I've only got two set up here because it was just playing around with it. This is too simplistic. I would actually make it much more complicated than this, but I wanted to just make sure it worked and see how it worked, and it works fine. So there you go. There's a database if you're looking for a really simple one. Doesn't take a lot of learning curve to figure out how to use it. Let's get back to my notes, which are all captured here in my Zim. That's where I keep everything. Once I work on stuff on here, then I transfer it over here, right? So it's a great place to keep stuff. To me, it's my go-to place for all my systems now. So yeah, there you go. Linux database, that's another one. So those are a few things. I'm trying to think, well, what do I need to use a system like this? Bare bones, what do I need? And these are some productivity things I need to function. And especially when you're talking about something as small as this SSD, you got to start being kind of conservative about how you're going to approach your setup. So, you know, you kind of go, do I want this? Do I want that? You know, you're not just going to just put everything on there, right? So, I guess that's going to be, it's 15 minutes, it's pretty long, but, you know, there you go. There's some thoughts about me and Linux and my experience so far, just a few little programs that I like to use. I can get things accomplished on the system. Like a lot of the things that I do, it's funny, I have specialized software that I use a lot, but just the things I do, it's a lot of times, it's just keeping track of things and making notes about stuff I'm learning about. So those are some really basic tools that get you started if you're new to Linux. They certainly are working for me. I'm sure there's other tools out there that other people find are really good. And if you find there's something really great, well, you can share it in the comments. I always appreciate a little suggestion, point me in the right direction. And I might be able to set it up and look at it and see how it works. The other thing, of course, is talking about databases. You could go with the LibreOffice base program, which is a database, which is supposed to be like a lot like I guess Access. So there's another option for you. So there's a few different things like that. But my workflow is more or less I make lots of notes and text files, and then oftentimes just transfer them over to Zim. And if I'm actually trying to keep track of, like, say 100 different, you know, computers, say for example, I'd throw the stats and the specs into a database so that you can search and query and find stuff and sort and that sort of stuff. And that's what makes databases powerful, is you can slice and dice the data and find comparisons between different machines, for example, which ones run the best and stuff like that. And in the Windows world, I can actually run benchmarks really easily across all my systems from XP to Windows, you know, 11 if I want to. But I don't know how to do that in Linux so far, and I don't have enough Linux systems to even worry about it. But I got something I might do, right? So it's for kicks. Yeah, so next projects maybe is, you know, obviously setting up some kind of Python development environment, I guess, or something. I don't know. I know they have, like, you can even install VS Code on here, I think. But anyway, yeah, so just lots of different things I could do with this thing. But I just thought, you know, let's talk to you guys about, you know, how do you dive from Windows into a system like this, and what are some tools that you can use to kind of get yourself started? Like, I always think, like, if I find a tool, like for example, NeoFetch is something I like to use all the time, because as soon as I found it, let's see if I can type this one-handed. Did I get it? NeoFetch. As soon as I found this is like a great little about screen, right? That, you know, like a lot of times I just want to see instantly, especially if it's a new system, what is it running? What's the, you know, the processor and memory and GPU? That's all captured there in a nice little form. And, you know, like I like the terminal. You can, like, do everything in the terminal. So, but sometimes, like, I've run some of the other programs, and it's like they're just so verbose and so detailed that, yeah, they're good if you're looking for everything, but you have to kind of use these switches to kind of limit the amount of information you're getting, and it's not very pretty. And that little NeoFetch is handy for, like, a quick, like, if you're trying to show somebody on YouTube, what does this thing have in it? You can see it, right, in NeoFetch, the basics. So that's great. So that's something I found. And so I might go into Zim, take a little snapshot of the screen and throw it into a a little article kind of thing, a little page that would capture that information so they'll never forget about it. And you know, it's like you're basically creating a wiki, your own little personal wiki that you're learning. It's a learning tool. And once you create a wiki page, honestly, you'll never have to refer to it again, because the act of creating it solidifies it in my mind. And I don't have to think, oh, what was that thing called? It's like Neofetch. I know what it is. And because I made a page about it, it's in my head. So it's also like a studying tool, I guess. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it. 20 minutes, that's a long one, but I just thought I'd give you something better than what I gave you last time. And it's, you know, something that's maybe a bit more popular. I don't like to chase views, but I also don't want to create videos that nobody cares about and won't watch. But I mean, sometimes I do that too, because, you know, it's fun. I just do it for fun. And in the end, it's like I'll throw it up on archive.org, so it's always going to exist. And if it doesn't get enough views on YouTube, I just pull it down and get rid of it. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's going to be it for today. I'll get this one up really quick. Every day I get a little bit better, a little healthier, but I thought I'd take, you know, 20 minutes out and shoot a video for you guys and say hi. And I hope everybody's doing great this beautiful sunny Sunday, at least in Vancouver. Talk to you later. Bye.